So if all this is if not, if not, if not, if not, if not, else what?
The flag equals 0.
Yeah. Okay. You could do it anyway, but I'm just making it.
Miss, don't we have to set like an actual integer or like an actual value to our valid password, right?
Actual value.
Like we have to set like I don't know, dog5 is our password, right? And if they enter anything else, it's going to be wronger, right?
Not sure if I got that. So you mean that when the user enters, that is your password? You don't
Okay.
have to set that before. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Because in that case, the password will be known, right? You don't have to have a password and then check every word. No. Only thing it has to satisfy these conditions. Okay, anybody ran this? And did you finish? What are they?
And does flag need to be defined outside that while loop?
I did. Yeah. So Leslie, who said that? It's already indented. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We put that later. Yeah. Okay, how many of you have got this? Mm, okay, so is super.
I think if not len, it's supposed to be if len.
No, all of them are not.
Okay.
Yeah, but I had a double S instead of one S.
Oh.
And I think I have the same thing. So your password needs a uppercase. The password needs to be 10 characters long. Yeah. So does it have a uppercase? It already has an uppercase, right? Okay. So I was counting to make sure that we hit the 10. 10 is a little bit long, right? I'm going to change that. Annoying. So anyway, I'll keep it 10 for now. So what do we have? And we just put this as a comment here, just going to tell you and leave it to you. If you want to have a list where you can append your errors, but that's not the important thing is we have just used all the functions which are available in or methods, I should say, which are available in strings. And we are going to be just comparing with every method. So every condition is compared with a method. So how is it compared? Now for any I, so I'm just using that your password needs an uppercase or your password needs a lowercase. So if you have a condition which is comparing without a not, then you will print out statements will be a little bit different. If not any I is upper, so we have already in the PowerPoint, we see that there is an is upper function. We are going to be using that is the string uppercase. So if there is even one, we don't want all, we want that if there is any one of them uppercase, that should be enough for us. So that's why we are using not and any. And then if there is even one lower, that should be good enough for us. That's why we are using is lower means is string all lowercase. So if you're not going to use not and just going to use is lower, then if you cannot have a valid combination. But you want that, okay, it can have a mix of upper, it can have a mix of lower, it can have and the other conditions. That's why we are using it this way. Then if it is having alphanumeric character, that means if it is having anything other than the numbers and letters, then I want to give out a error. You can do this in two ways. There is another way of doing it. There is something called a space. You can actually split it out in two ways. You can say if there is a space and if there is an alpha, so even the space will be ignored. So we can add one more here if you want to make it a little bit more stronger, that we don't want any space and we don't want any other alnum. So I leave it to you, but you do that. Then if there is not any number, then it's not a good password. It's a weak password. It will not take it as a valid. So it's not, so you should have numbers and so on. And finally, I would rather check the length first, but it's as we have written, and this is how it is. We are declaring, so one of you brought this out, we always have to make sure that before we enter a while loop, the flag is defined and declared up. I'm not writing any comments here, but by now you know that we have a declaration of a flag, and the declaration goes to a negative. That means it becomes false when it is outside, and that till then it will be checking for every condition. If the flag is equal to 1, that means it's going to check for every condition, and then it's going to be spitting out the password. Here we are just having the main. So don't ever get confused when you have questions asking you it has to have a module and a main. The main is just calling the module. In this case, the main is very simple, but the whole program, everything of this, the whole thing can be done that as a user, we can take the password from the user in the main. We can do the entry, like the input the password kind of thing. Usually good programming practices say that, okay, make all the entries from the user in the main. Now there are different views to that, so I'm just leaving that open to you. You can take the entries in the main and only the checks happen here. So if I want to do that, that means if I want to take the entry in the main and only the check happening in the module, what change will I have to do? Everybody got this one, this program?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I want to make a small change here, that I want to take uh, ask the user in the main, not in the function, because I want, that is what the program or the problem states. Okay, in the main, ask the user to enter the password. Then what changes will I have to do in my module definition and in the main program? So that means if I have, say here, I will have, instead of saying password, I will say input. So I'm modifying. So if you want to just change, save it by a different, it's two ways of doing things. There are so many ways, but I'm just making a small change. Just letting you know that can be different ways. The same question can come, the same concept can be tested. This is having how many parameters are passed in this function? In the previous one, which we did, how many parameters are passed? So if this is the case, how many parameters are passed?
Just one?
No, so is there anything in this? Is there anything inside this?
Oh, none.
None. So 0 parameters are passed. There is no parameter passed from the main to the module. Now, if the question says, okay, do all of this, but define the module with one parameter and take the input from the user in the main. So it's implicitly understood. If I have to take the input from the user in the main, then I will have to call the function for sure with at least one parameter, and that will be the password. So if I am going to be doing all this, and if I will just say, okay, I want to be taking the input from the user in the main and then call, then what I will change, I will have to add here the parameter will be password. I will have to put password here. And instead of taking the password from the user, I will take the password from the user in the main down here. So from here, I will take the password, and here I will put the password, and so on. So this is the small little changes, or how they have asked you in the question is what matters. The logic just doesn't change. The program doesn't change. Nothing has changed. I don't want to disturb if you have been typing. So I'm just going to remove this and keep it as it was. But you want to be making sure, and this is another thing which I have noticed while checking your papers or assignments, the small little things which are asked, if you want to have passing 2 parameters, then you want to make sure that your function is made to handle or to take 2 parameters. So if it says, okay, pass 2 parameter, then maybe there is 2 parameters which has to be passed. One will be the password and the other may be, I don't know, maybe the length or something like that, which will come from the main to the module. So every time when you want to write a program, I want to leave you with this and stop the class with this. I want you to read the question. And when you read the question, first thing you want to identify is the program all going to be in main, or are they asking us to split between main and modules? Fine. If it is to be split between main and module, so if it's all in main, it's all everything together in one place. But if it has to be split between main and module, then we want to be then asking ourselves a question that, okay, are there any restrictions on the number of parameters for the module? Sometimes the question will say, make the module with 2 parameters or with 1 parameter or something like that. And if it is explicitly saying that, then that means my module should have those parameters here when I define, and also when I call here. So those restrictions have to be taken care of. Now, if the module should have 2 parameters passed, that means those 2 parameters should come from the main. So there should be somewhere in the main that those parameters are defined, or it is collected from the user. So in this case, if I have to pass 1 parameter, I will have to take password from the user in the main and then just give that password instead of asking the user in the module to enter the password. So these are the different things. Then how to use the methods. If I have a combination like this, now why did we have a combination? It is at least. So all of these conditions is not that saying that all your password should be capital or small or things like that. So if it is having a condition like it should have at least 1 or at least a number or at least a character, then we will prefer to have not over is. So this is what we want to be making, just a check. There is no one way of writing a program. Actually, we can do this using the whole validation program, all using flags. We can just set flags and say flag is true, flag for upper is true, flag for lower is true, flag for decimal is true, flag for special character is true or false. For each one, we can set the flag, and if all the flag conditions are met, you can say password is valid. So there is no one way of doing it. This is one of the ways, but all of the ways, whether it is using flag, whether it is using just if else conditions without the flag, directly checking the Boolean, what it is actually doing, it's actually checking the Boolean. So when this is executed, it's actually passing out the Boolean value, and based on that, it is giving the result here, though you don't see it happening. So if you want to see it happening in a flag, you can do that. Otherwise, you can do it this way. So I'll close here, and we are going to be starting next Tuesday with the review for the test. And one of the reasons in the beginning of the class I went through the assignment is I want you to maybe give a start for the assignments. Look into the questions, give it a start to write. And then the test is anyway on December 3rd. The assignment is only due December 7th. So you do have time, but I would advise you that you please go and try doing that assignment before the test. That would be good. Any other questions? Okay, I'm thinking we are good. If there are no questions. Yes, Leslie, you had something?
Nope. Good to go.
Okay, then have a good weekend, all of you.
Have a good weekend, miss. Take
Have a
care.
good weekend. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Mindy, did you post that